WNDU TV, Channel 16, South Bend.
From News Center 16, this is Live at 5:30 with Mike Collins, sports with Jack Nolan, and weather with Dick Addis.
Veterans from the Vietnam War are carrying their battle wounds more than 15 years after the end of the war. Good afternoon, everyone. The American Legion used the occasion of Veterans Day to release a 5-year study on the Vietnam veterans. The study concludes that more than any other U.S. conflict, the war in Southeast Asia caused mental and physical problems for troops which linger years later.
Facilities and programs. And fifth, we documented that post-traumatic stress disorder is real. As the combat experience of the veterans increased, so did the rate of suffering from PTSD. 15% of the Legionnaires who experienced high combat fulfilled the medical criteria for PTSD. And now
the study pinpointed the chemical defoliant Agent Orange as another prime factor in post-war stress and said the government has done little to help veterans who were exposed to it.
It makes it obvious that you can do an Agent Orange study, which CDC said you cannot do. Number two, it shows that there are consequences of Agent Orange exposure, which have not been pointed out before. And number three, and most importantly, it shows that there's a great need for even more detailed research in the area of Agent Orange.
And I'm joined now by South Bend Mayor Joe Kernan to talk about some of the problems the Vietnam vets faced when they came home. Mayor Kernan, of course, not only a veteran of the war, but also a prisoner of war over there. Mayor, from your standpoint, what was it about that conflict that played so much on the minds of many who came back here?
I guess I would say, Mike, that there were a couple of things. One was the fact that the young men who went over there and eventually came home, I think were probably not as well prepared in going over. And there were a number of guys who came back who were in the jungle one day, and 24 hours later they were walking down the streets in their hometown. And there wasn't really the kind of training or preparation for them in coming back. I think the other thing that contributes to that is that when many guys came home, the situation that they faced from fellow citizens, and the war was not very well understood. Certainly was unpopular as it went on, and I think that had a real detrimental effect on many guys coming home as well.
Mayor, your circumstance, of course, as a veteran was you also faced the most hellish of circumstances, being held as a prisoner of war. Was it difficult for you to adjust when you first came back here?
Well, I like to look back and say, no, I don't think so, that I was able to get right back into it, but I think so. If I were to go back and look at the first year or two after I came home, there were some real adjustments that I had to make. I was very fortunate. I was captured for a very short time, and in fact was just out at Notre Dame and talked with the ROTC units out there, and was thinking that there were 3 guys who came to mind immediately that I graduated from Notre Dame with who didn't come home, who were killed in action over there. So I was very lucky. And also, I think when I came home, it was at the end of the war, came home with the rest of the POWs, and there was a real sense of relief in the country, and I think a sense of unity, and so the circumstances that I went through when I came home were very much different than the millions of guys who came home under very different circumstances.
If you look at the statistics, the average age of the Vietnam soldier was younger than the average age of the soldiers in other wars. That certainly must have played a large part in it too, I would think.
Absolutely, and I think if you look at the fact that guys were younger, that typically came from poorer backgrounds, perhaps had less education, as well as the fact that I don't think that they were as well prepared for the kinds of things that they were going to go through when they were there, as well as the things that they went through when they came home. I think that all adds up to a number of different folks having the problems that we're talking about today.
All right, Mayor Kernan, thanks again for joining us on Live at 5:30. Well, the mayor spoke late this afternoon, as he said, on the Notre Dame campus for the traditional recognition of Veterans Day. The mayor talked about the veterans who fought for our country and spoke to the ROTC students about the importance of leadership in looking forward. The 4 ROTC branches of the armed services led the Veterans Day ceremony in the center of campus. The Veterans Day tribute ended with the traditional lowering of the American flag. And Lieutenant General Willard W. Scott was guest speaker today at Culver Academy's Veterans Day ceremonies. The general, decorated for numerous military accomplishments and 5 years superintendent of West Point, spent little time talking about past wars. His focus was on the future and a battle that has more to do with freedom and less to do with guns. Paula McGreedy has that story.
When it was his turn at the podium, General Scott departed from the traditional theme of Veterans Day, turning the attention of his young audience from the past to the future and world peace. Defending the Constitution, he said, calls for a number of personal duties.
Should be one that we pay attention as enlightened, practicing citizens in this political process, that the distribution of resources is made in a way that's in the interest of all citizens, that we encourage our elected officials to pursue prudent paths that bring about worldwide arms reduction.
The role of peacekeeping, the general explained, begins at home in the U.S., right on campuses like Culver's, where students battle the domestic enemy every day.
Have to counsel our friends, encourage our neighbor, speak against those who would divide us by saying, this one is less a citizen, not entitled to the dignity that the human has because of the color of their skin or the religion that they practice.
In closing, General Scott called for a moment of silence and a tribute to past wartime heroes. The general then urged students to keep alive the dreams of past soldiers by preserving the privilege of the land of the free. Reporting from Culver, Paula McGreedy, NewsCenter 16.
And at the National Cemetery in Arlington, Virginia, thousands joined President Reagan as he placed a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier. For Reagan, his last tribute as president was an emotional one.
His life expired. We know that those who could had last thoughts of us and of their love for us. As they thought of us then, so too we think of them now. With love, with devotion, and with faith, the certainty that what they died for was worthy of their sacrifice.
The president then placed a note at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial where he honored the 50,000 who died in Vietnam. Well, we're joined now by Dick Addis, feeling much better, we're glad to say. And you got some more rain creeping in for part of the weekend?
Isn't it amazing, Mike? There's an encore performance of rain about to move in, a repeat of that storm that just went through, another one on the way. Isn't that amazing?
The way it's been going, no, it's like every other day. But Dick's forecast is coming up next.
Pizza Hut announces a very special deal. Right now, our large specialty pizzas are just $9.99 each. Get a cheese lover's pizza, smothered in layers of cheese and toppings. Or a meat lover's pizza, loaded with 6 delicious meats. Or even a supreme pizza, piled high with mouth-watering toppings. At just $9.99 each, our large specialty pizzas come with a price you'll really eat up. Pizza Hut, making it great.
Your Blue Ribbon Chevy dealers present 6 facts that Ford never wants you to know. Chevy's S10 pickup has more horsepower than Ford Ranger. Chevy's S10 pickup has a bigger engine than Ranger. Chevy's S10 pickup gets better gas mileage than Ranger. Chevy's S10 pickup has more legroom than Ranger. Chevy's S10 pickup has more cargo capacity than Ranger. Chevy's S10 pickup is just $73.74. It should be very easy to buy your new pickup now. See your Blue Ribbon Chevy dealer.
Full of caring, united way. Full of sharing, united way. Because of you, we'll always do our best. Every day, the united way. Every way, the united way. She had his heart and soul is flying high. 'Cause we've got the spirit. It brings out the best in all of us. The united way gives 110%.
You know, here in Michiana, you take a picture of the environment, and a couple of minutes later, it's all changed. You know, the clouds, the sun. We were happy to get a little sunshine today, but that'll be on the way out as clouds move in again, cool temperatures. It'll become a little breezy. Then rain will move into the picture for tomorrow. Then ending on Sunday, and temperatures not varying too much, if anything, just a little above normal for this time of year. So we'll take leave of our picture, which shows fewer leaves on the trees now, and check out our satellite view. Notice the clearing trend. Now, these clouds finally kicked out of here, but some out to the west, the high variety, are already starting to stream in our direction. Let's zoom in a couple of times, well, at least one time, to show you the details of sun that's popped out from the overcast that last night, I think, brought us some rather unexpected precipitation as a little micro-scale system developed and brought a combination of exciting precipitation into our region that maybe wasn't quite in the forecast. But we can guarantee a little clearing for now and then clouds later that will bring us some rain. We'll take leave of this, check out the situation overhead at this hour. It's partly cloudy, temperature reading 42, the relative humidity 53%. The wind is light from the south at 6 miles an hour. Our low of the day 37, the high today 45, and we've had 0.17 of an inch of precipitation during the past 24-hour period. And we examine a weather map to show you what's going on. Looks okay overhead, the fair weather high, but this is another storm. Notice its position very similar to the one that just went through. Now, there is some snow flying through parts of Utah, Colorado, and Wyoming, and New Mexico as this storm winds itself up and starts to gather moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. It's pleasant right now with a fair weather high, a little on the chilly side in the northeast, a rain and snow mix, but some pretty hefty thunderstorms are scheduled to take place in Texas and Oklahoma, where some of those could become severe tonight. Looking at our map for tomorrow, the storm winds itself up, jockeys into position, the white depictions, significant snow once again up there where perhaps they don't need any more right now. They'll have a white Thanksgiving up in the upper peninsula of Michigan. But for us, an influx of moisture means some rain. That's depicted by the green blobs. So it's going to be wet. And I anticipate there'll be some severe weather once again in this unstable air mass between the warm front and cold front down here in the western Gulf of Mexico. This isn't terribly cold, but there are a couple of more storm complexes that'll be marching across the chart. Never dull, because at this time of year we seem to get an interval of a storm every, well, 2 to 3 days. Tonight's lows will be into the 30s, and we'll be very close to the freezing point, and if there is any rain in the very early morning hours, who knows what it could become mixed with. But tomorrow, between the 40s and 50s in our region, and we guarantee rain, and maybe just a little breeze, too. In fact, here's our detailed forecast. For tonight, becoming cloudy, cool, just a very slight chance of a little light rain. This would be a very minimal chance, you know, like in the very early morning hours around sunrise time. Low of 32. Then for tomorrow, cloudy, cool, breezy, with periods of rain. High of 50. More details at 6, but now back to Mike and more news.
All right, Dick. It was certainly refreshing to see the sun, though, this afternoon. Well, this Sunday, there will be music everywhere to satisfy every musical taste when IUSB presents their annual showcase of music. And Anna Marie Cole is in the studio with me now to tell us all about it. Anna Marie?
Mike, the showcase of music is a veritable kaleidoscope of musical talent. And I think everyone will enjoy it because it offers everything from classical to jazz and beyond.
And that beyond is computer music. That weird wailing sound is the instrument with no name other than electronic music.
Uh, 60% of the music that we hear on television, for example, is produced by electronic instruments. Even though you may think it's strings or voices or horns, it's actually fairly sophisticated computer music systems.
And if you have an urge to play the synthesizer, stop in and try your hand at computer-made music.
I expect on Sunday that there'll be a lot of young people who will be coming into the room where we're playing, and there'll be times when they'll be able to actually play with the equipment.
Meanwhile, these little munchkins are taking their first step into 21st century music by learning to develop their own rhythmic skills.
Butterfly. Can you do the butterfly motion? Butterfly, butterfly, butterfly. Okay.
I think it's a wonderful introduction to music. I can see an improvement in Allison's being able to clap to a song, great rhythm now. And when she sings Twinkle Twinkle, it's on pitch.
Proceeds from the showcase are used to support these outreach programs for young people, and also to support special programs by resident faculty concert artists. 16 music groups will perform continuously from 1 in the afternoon to 7 in the evening.
It's designed so that you can flow from room to room. I think there are 6 rooms altogether. And so you will be able to, throughout the afternoon, hear everybody.
And that's just a glimpse of the talent, which runs the gamut from professional musicians to talented young students. At 7:30, the showcase is topped off by a performance of the 1988 Fish-Off competition winner, the Lafayette String Quartet.
And there must be an admission charge. Tell us about it.
Yes, there is an admission charge, Mike. It's $5 in advance, $7 at the door, and $1 for those under 15.
All right, Anna Marie, thanks for joining us on Live at 5:30.
Thank you, Mike.
And there's more to do this weekend. If you want to get some exercise, you've got the chance to meet fitness expert Margaret Richards. Richards, who hosts the Body Electric Exercise Show on PBS, is in town to conduct some workout sessions. If you want to meet Richards and get some pointers on the proper way to tone your body, she'll be at the Marriott Hotel in South Bend. There will be 1 session tonight at 7 and 2 sessions tomorrow. Now, the 9:30 session tomorrow is for fitness instructors only. However, the 1:30 workout is open to the public. There is an admission fee, and don't forget to bring your exercise clothes. Coming up, we'll go live to Mishawaka, where caveman fever is running rampant. Jack Nolan previews tonight's regional playoff game. That's in a moment on Live at 5:30.
Your chance to save is now at Don Meadow Motors. Drive the new Pontiac Sunbird with front-wheel drive, just $89 down and $149 a month. Or a new Pontiac Grand Am, just $89 down and $159 a month. Plus, see the full line of Jeep Cherokees and Comanches and get up to $750 cash back. Or buy an Eagle Premier and get $1,000 cash back. Don't miss your chance to save at Don Meadow Pontiac Jeep Eagle, Lincoln Way East in South Bend. You won't find a better buy anywhere.
Evening at Ayers has grown into 2 big days of savings. So now I can shop from 9 to 11 on Friday and again on Saturday. Evening at Ayers means great savings for my family and my home. And a great time to start on that endless Christmas list. I'm glad Evening at Ayers is now on Friday and Saturday. One evening's just not enough time to take advantage of the savings event of the season.
Burger King has brought back their veal Parmesan sandwich. They say it tastes so authentic it'll turn you Italian. I say no way. Sure, it's delicious. I mean, they make it with a juicy breaded veal patty smothered in mozzarella, spicy tomato sauce, but nothing's gonna turn me Italian.
Scusi, è occupato?
The veal Parmesan sandwich for a limited time only.
Piccolo paese, vicina Napoli.
At Burger King.
Dolce sole.
November is Truck Month at your Ford dealer. Once-a-year deals on every new Ford truck in stock. Right now, save over $2,400 on the full-size F-150. Not downsized like Chevy. Save over $1,700 on Ranger, the compact pickup that outsells Chevy and GMC combined. Or save over $2,500 on the sporty Bronco 2. And that's before you talk to your Northern Indiana Ford dealer about his best price during Truck Month.
Ford dealers and you, your quality shows.
Well, finally, we have some decent weather for the high school football playoffs, and the place to be tonight is Mishawaka. That's where Jack Nolan, he's there with an early start.
That's right, Mike. This place should be jumping tonight when Mishawaka plays host to Crown Point for the Area 5A Regional Championship. Both head coaches are joining me now. We will begin with Crown Point head coach Brad Smith. And Brad, you've got a tough task tonight. You're taking on a good team on their home field. What are the keys for your team if they're going to walk away tonight with a victory?
Well, we feel number one, we've been very impressed with Mishawaka on film. Every time a team's turned the ball over to Mishawaka, they've scored. So one of our keys is we don't want to give them any freebies. Number two, they are a good ball control ball club. I think their offensive line looks excellent. Their run defense looks very exciting and very tough. if we can establish a running game, we feel that might open up our play-action passing game pretty well. Other than that, if we can't move the football on the ground, it could be a long night for us.
Coach, thank you and good luck tonight.
Thank you.
Now, Mishawaka head coach Al Smith, and certainly, Al, the home field advantage in and of itself is not going to beat Crown Point tonight.
No, sir, it's not. We have watched them on videotape, and the thing that just absolutely amazes us is they've played some people with just unbelievable speed, and they look even. So we think we're playing a Crown Point team that is very, very quick. They have one of the most powerful running games that we've seen all year. They have a speedster that's going to take at least 2 of our guys to cover him defensively on the pass. They've thrown real well to the other people. And the real key, we think, to playing with Crown Point is the ability to do something with their defense. Their defense gives up about 1.6 points per game, which means we get a field goal someplace in the 4th quarter and we feel really good. So we think that Crown Point's defense is the best defense we've seen all year, and they have a power running game and a real wide-open threat on the passing game.
Al, thanks for taking the time. I'm impressed. You're so fired up. You don't even have a coat on out here, and it is chilly. Good luck to both of you tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Like to remind the folks at home that while most of the area playoff games tonight get underway at 7:30, this game kicks off at 8 o'clock tonight. And this is not the only playoff action to involve a Mishawaka team this weekend. The Mishawaka girls volleyball team is just about to leave for Indianapolis, where they will appear in the state finals tomorrow. Chuck Freeby has more.
The Mishawaka volleyball team is used to going to the state finals. This is their 6th trip this decade. But after losing a number of players to graduation, Caveman coach Steve Anderson didn't expect to be in Indy this year. Did you ever dream that you'd be in this position?
Dream, yes. Realize that it would come true, no. I just knew that this team had a lot of desire. Their work ethic was really high, and that once they set their mind to it, they felt they could do it, and they gave me to believe too.
It looked doubtful, but we knew we could do it because we're a good team and there's a lot of tradition. But most of all, we knew that we wanted to work hard and we wanted it.
The Cavemen are surprised and delighted to be making their 6th trip to Indianapolis, but they'd like to add to the rafters another state championship banner. Runner-up finishes in 86 and 87 gave the Mishawaka players valuable experience, and it taught them an important lesson.
Now I realize what it means to be going to the state finals. Like last year, being a junior and not getting much playing time, I really didn't get the feeling of state, but this year I'm a senior and I really want it bad, and I get this excitement is so great.
And now number 2 just won't be good enough for McClish and her teammates.
Right now it would mean the world. It's my biggest dream right now, is to win the state championship.
Reporting from Mishawaka, Chuck Freeby, NewsCenter 16.
And, of course, Mike, tonight at 11 we'll have highlights of all the area high school football playoff games.
All right, Jack, thank you very much. Well, in other news, they also observe Veterans Day in Europe, but they call it Armistice Day. In France, President Francois Mitterrand was joined in a wreath-laying ceremony by Britain's Prince Charles. The ceremony took place at the French War Memorial, the Arc de Triomphe. In West Germany, armistice observations were overshadowed by the resignation of the head of the parliament. Philipp Jenninger was forced out because of remarks which stated the Hitler years were glorious for many Germans. The comments caused an uproar, and he apologized today, saying he was misunderstood. Jenninger's speech was intended to criticize the Nazi persecution of Jews in World War II. And Rosemary Bonadies talks to some World War II veterans on their memories. This week's senior segment is next on Live at 5:30.
Turn back the calendar. New York Carpet World takes you back to the bargains and excitement of a good old-fashioned carpet sale. Pick any pad, we'll give you 20% off. Pick any carpet, save to 65% on every one. Low prices you thought you'd never see again. Area rugs and carpet remnants, they're all on sale. Vinyls, wood floors, bath carpets, everything's at old-fashioned bargain prices. Old-time prices on today's newest styles and colors. Save again on carpet installation. Hurry, everything's on sale at old-fashioned discounts till Saturday only at New York Carpet World.
When it gets real cold and the snow's on the road, who you gonna call? Snowbuster! Four-wheel drives, big and small. Your Blue Ribbon Chevy dealers have them all. Snowbuster! Tough Chevy pickups, Blazers too. Put a four-wheel drive to work for you. Snowbuster! They won't last long and prices are low. So get yours now before the ice and snow.
Snowbuster! Snowbuster! Snowbuster!
Don't wait. Get a snow-busting Chevy truck at your Blue Ribbon Chevy dealer now.
What's the #1 sandwich maker up to? Designing a new Subway sub?
No, I'm planning a Subway sale, and you better start baking.
Hot bread coming through.
We bake 'em fresh. We make 'em fresh. Everybody loves Subway sub.
Buy a foot-long steak and cheese or meatball sub and get a free 16-ounce Coca-Cola Classic.
Veterans make up a large portion of the senior segment, and on this Veterans Day, Rosemary Bonadies talks with a veteran about his memories of World War II. Rosemary?
The Second World War was probably the most dramatic happening in our lives. Everyone over 55 has strong memories of the draft, overseas duty, V-mail, and especially homecomings. The typical GI was 18, single, and away from home for the first time. He was seeing new places, forming new friendships, and doing things that were never dreamed of in ordinary times. I asked a veteran friend to talk about his experiences. Clarence Deneen's number was called in the first draft, and he went into the infantry in June of 1941. As a GI, his salary was $21 a month. Like most of us, he has a vivid memory of his whereabouts when Pearl Harbor was hit.
I was at San Luis Obispo in the infantry, the 160th Infantry. It was the National Guard Infantry for Los Angeles. And the night before, I worked in the office and typed up a furlough to send half the company home for Christmas and half for New Year's. Had them all there. And then when Pearl Harbor hit, I burnt them all.
Clarence spent 2 years in the infantry, progressing from GI to staff sergeant. He transferred to the Army Air Corps and served 2.5 more years. His attitude about the service reflects the thoughts of the men who served during that time.
We had a job that we had to do. After all, America was attacked. Pearl Harbor, we had to do something.
Time spent in service wasn't all serious or dangerous. Being a serviceman had its advantages and compensations.
We were in there, we felt very patriotic. The public treated us as if we were all heroes, although we hadn't done anything as individuals. They could invite us out to eat. You couldn't walk on the street without being picked up. Everything was positive and upbeat. So.
Like thousands of returning servicemen, he used the GI Bill to advance his education, getting a PhD in biology. He's now retired, but still fights for his country, working for pure air and water.
Rosemary, what's the estimate of how many World War II veterans are still alive?
Okay, right now the Veterans Administration says there are over 13 million men and women who fought during the war.
And it must be every one of them with a story to tell, too, I would imagine.
True.
All right, Rosemary, thanks again for joining us. And now let's send it over to Maureen for a look at our 6 o'clock headlines.
Thank you, Mike. On this day set aside to honor our war dead, we'll take a look at some of the Veterans Day observances held throughout Michiana. An accomplished wartime hero with roots at West Point talked about preserving the peace with students at Culver Military Academy. And in spite of the long, hot, dry summer, we may still end up with a normal amount of rainfall for the year. These stories and more are next on NewsCenter 16. Stay tuned.